Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness. This is a deep and soulful reading crafted just for you. If you've been looking for a clear sign from the universe, this is it. And no, you didn't land here by accident. Pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, is there a reason I was pulled toward this message today? If your heart just fluttered even slightly, you already know the answer. You're not watching this video by chance. You were called here, through whispers in the stillness, through signs you almost ignored, through a quiet knowing inside you. The universe is reaching out, and this reading is the conversation you were meant to have. Here at Eternal Mindfulness, we believe that your soul knows its own timing. And something tells me, Scorpio, your timing is now. There's been a subtle shift in your energy lately, hasn't there? Like something is watching you from behind the veil, a feeling that something big is approaching, but it hasn't yet revealed itself. It's not your imagination. It's not wishful thinking. It's your intuition aligning with something real. There's a hidden blessing on its way to you. One that has been orbiting your life for a while, waiting for you to be ready, not to chase it, but to receive it. If you've been feeling that strange sense of anticipation, or like life has been giving you signs in whispers, not shouts, then you're already in sync with what's coming. Right now, I want to invite you into an energy of alignment. Drop into the present moment. Notice what you're feeling in your body. And if you're ready to connect on a deeper level, leave a comment below with an angel number that's been showing up in your life. Maybe it's 111 for new beginnings, or 888 for abundance, or 1212 for spiritual expansion. These aren't just numbers. They're spiritual echoes, markers on your soul's journey, confirmations that you're exactly where you need to be. And before we go deeper, let me take a moment to say something important. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for being here. Every like, every comment, every subscription you've ever shared with this channel brings us closer together as a community. Your support doesn't just keep this channel alive, it's what allows us to bring these transformational messages into the light. And believe me, Scorpio, you're going to want to stay with me until the very end of this reading. Because what the universe is about to reveal is not only magical, it's permanent. This isn't a fleeting moment of luck. It's a turning point. Something is shifting on your path, and this time, it's here to stay. So, tell me, Scorpio, what in your heart drew you here today? Sometimes, the things we cannot name are the very things that are most alive in our experience. They linger just at the edge of awareness, like mist before dawn, felt, but not yet seen. Right now, Scorpio, you're stepping into a moment where what was once veiled is beginning to reveal itself. The movement of Pluto, your ruling planet, signals this with quiet certainty. Transformation is no longer optional, it's inevitable. But unlike the chaos that often follows forced change, this one feels fated. It's as if something you once knew, deep down, has circled back around, only now it wears a different face. Wiser. Calmer. Ready. The presence of the moon reversed in this reading reflects that same unveiling. It represents the dissolving of illusion, the lifting of old fogs that clouded your emotional truth. You may have ignored the signs, dismissed your own feelings, or hidden from what scared you. That's perfectly human. But when the chariot arrives beside it, we're no longer allowed to stand still. This card is the push forward. Not as a demand, but as a gentle, yet powerful momentum guiding you back to what matters. Maybe it's a relationship that never really ended, only paused. Or a vision you once carried but tucked away when life got loud and you lost the silence needed to hear your soul. And now, that person, that path, that possibility, it returns. It hasn't come back to disrupt you. It's returning to see if you've become the version of yourself who can finally hold it properly. In astrology, Pluto's influence teaches us about the depths, about what lies beneath appearances. And as it shifts, it brings up long-buried truths, not to punish, but to purify. Like how a lotus only grows through mud, there are parts of your journey that needed time in the dark. But now, light is entering. What once felt chaotic may begin to form patterns, and what seemed like coincidence may start to feel like clarity. There's a quiet teaching here, one that mirrors the wisdom of presence. When you stop grasping at outcomes and start allowing space for what's true, life reveals itself more fully. It's not about effort in the way we often think. It's about alignment. The same way a tree does not strain to bloom, it simply surrenders to the season. It's your season now, Scorpio. Not to push, but to allow. Not to chase, but to welcome what's already making its way to you. And sometimes, what comes is not entirely new. It's the return of what you loved before you were ready. It's the dream that once broke your heart but now shows up in a new body, asking if you're ready to receive it with steady hands. In this way, destiny is not a force that drags you somewhere. It's a mirror that waits for you to recognize yourself in it. So as you feel the tide turning, don't rush to label or define it. Observe. Breathe. Respond, but don't react. Let things arrive the way the tide meets the shore, sure, soft, inevitable. What is meant for you won't knock down your door. It will arrive like a long-lost friend, smiling without a word, asking nothing of you but presence. You've done the work. You've faced the silences. And now, life is about to speak back to you, in real, tangible ways. Stay open. The story you thought had ended may not be over. It may just be ready to begin again, from a place of truth. Often, it's not that the door is locked, it's that we've forgotten we're allowed to turn the handle. After moments of deep emotional revelation, like what you've just experienced, there's usually a pause. A quiet invitation. It whispers, "Are you ready to step through?" But here's the truth that so many overlook: opportunities do not always arrive with fanfare. They don't shout. They wait. And if your energy is still rooted in doubt, fear, or the belief that you're not ready, those opportunities can feel invisible, even when they're standing right in front of you. The Nine of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles together form one of the most stabilizing, grounded combinations in a reading. The Nine tells us you've done so much on your own, perhaps more than you've even given yourself credit for. You've cultivated strength, independence, and a quiet resilience that others may never fully see. And the Ace? It is the offering. The new seed. The pathway forward. But here's the catch: it doesn't plant itself. This is where action and awareness meet. And not just any action. Intentional action. Gentle action. The kind that says, even if I'm unsure, I will take one step. That single act of bravery can move energy in profound ways. Much like a still pond disturbed by a single drop, the universe reacts to the sincerity of even our smallest choices. There's a teaching found in stillness. Clarity only comes when the water settles. In the same way, your clarity around what you want must emerge not from force, but from grounded presence. That's why this window of time isn't just about chasing money or grabbing at success. It's about aligning your values with your vision. What are you truly calling in, not just from the surface, but from the depths of your being? The energy of this reading asks you to move out of waiting mode and into welcoming mode. There's a quiet difference between wanting and preparing. One is passive. The other, deeply alive. Imagine a field waiting for rain. The soil doesn't demand. It opens. It softens. It trusts that nourishment is already on its way. That is what the Ace of Pentacles is asking of you right now. Soften your resistance, and believe in the fruit of your preparation. The law of attraction works not by forcing things to happen, but by making space for them to land. And sometimes that means beginning within. Writing down your intention, not as a desperate wish, but as a sacred declaration. This is what I am ready to receive. Choose one clear, specific intention for the next 72 hours, something grounded, something you can sense in your body. Then, take one small action that aligns with it. Not for the outcome, but to signal to life that you are no longer on the sidelines of your own becoming. There is also a deeper layer to consider. In ancient teachings, it's said that the fruit of any action is shaped not only by the act itself, but by the quality of the mind in which it was born. If your action is driven by fear, it will often lead to more fear. But if it is rooted in presence, patience, and sincerity, its impact ripples far beyond what the eye can see. You are not being asked to be perfect. Only present. Trust that the energy you offer the world is what comes back to meet you. This is not about being lucky, it's about being available. And right now, Scorpio, you are more ready than you think. The question is not whether the opportunity is there. The real question is, will you walk toward it? It often begins with a flicker, an unshakable sensation that something unspoken is about to rise to the surface. The energy shifts. Words hover at the edge of silence, waiting for the right moment to become real. In this unfolding chapter, Scorpio, the presence of the Ace of Swords alongside the Two of Cups signals a turning point where clarity and connection must meet. There's no more space for ambiguity, no more comfort in pretending not to feel. What has been lingering unsaid is now preparing to find its voice. You may have sensed it already, a tension, an intuition, or perhaps even a yearning that feels both old and new. Whether you're in a relationship that's been floating between definition and disconnection, or navigating the quiet space of solitude, something is shifting. The Ace of Swords doesn't arrive subtly. It cuts through confusion with piercing honesty. It asks us not to be cruel, but to be clear. And when it shows up in relationship readings, it often marks the beginning of a dialogue that changes everything. This isn't the kind of truth that destroys. It's the kind that liberates. But liberation doesn't always come gently. Sometimes it begins with discomfort, with vulnerability, with the courage to speak what your heart has known long before your voice could catch up. For those in relationships that have felt undefined or uncertain, the time of hovering in the in-between is coming to an end. One person, maybe you, maybe the other, will find the strength to say what has long needed saying. And even if the outcome shifts the dynamic, there will be a release. A sense of emotional breath returning to a space that has held itself too tightly for too long. And if you've been walking alone on this path, know that the appearance of the Two of Cups isn't just about romance. It's about sacred reflection. A meeting of energy that feels startlingly familiar, because it is. You may cross paths with someone who doesn't just catch your attention, but speaks to a part of you you'd forgotten was still listening. It may not be someone you've met before in this life, but the recognition will be unmistakable. Not every connection like this is meant to become a lifelong partnership, but each one arrives with purpose. Sometimes to awaken you. Sometimes to mirror you. Sometimes to teach you what you're truly ready for. Relationships, in their truest form, are vessels for growth. They hold up a mirror and ask, "Are you ready to see yourself more clearly?" But that reflection isn't always easy. It requires softness, honesty, and above all, compassion, for both yourself and the other. In teachings of inner awareness, there's a reminder that truth spoken without compassion is like a blade with no handle. It harms more than it helps. So as you move into these honest conversations, remember, your words can heal if they arise from presence rather than pressure. There's also a profound shift occurring in how you relate, not just to others, but to yourself. Are you listening to your needs as deeply as you hope someone else might? Are you expressing your heart with the same grace you offer to the people you love? These moments of emotional breakthrough are not here to create drama. They're here to create clarity. And clarity, as confronting as it can be, always opens space for a new beginning. So allow what needs to be said, to be said. Allow what needs to surface, to rise. Let go of the need to control the outcome. What's true has a strength of its own. And the connections that are meant for you will recognize the sound of your truth when they hear it. Control often disguises itself as safety. It promises certainty, stability, and the illusion that if we grip things tightly enough, nothing will fall apart. But Scorpio, you of all signs know that transformation rarely happens in stillness, it's born in surrender. You've walked through fire before. You've held your emotions like precious glass, protecting what felt too raw to expose. And yet, here you are, being asked once again to release your grip, not because you're weak, but because you're ready. The energy this week carries the vibration of release, of softening. Numbers 5 and 9 hold particular weight right now. 5 as the number of transition and adaptability, and 9 as the number of closure, of sacred endings that prepare the ground for something higher. Together, they offer a kind of spiritual arithmetic: subtract what no longer serves, and multiply what brings peace. It's not about giving up, it's about making room. In this space, the struggle to control outcomes begins to dissolve. You may have been clinging to an idea of how something should unfold, a timeline, a result, a definition of success or love. But every moment you cling to a fixed outcome, you may be unknowingly blocking the natural flow of what could come instead, something far more aligned, something you never thought to ask for because it exceeds what your mind could imagine. This is where internal alchemy takes place. A quiet shift, where the desire to force is replaced by the strength to allow. The irony is, surrender is one of the most active choices you can make. It requires presence, awareness, and a deep trust that the path ahead, however uncertain, is not empty, it's alive, waiting to meet you halfway. Just as water shapes rock not by resistance, but by consistent flow, your own transformation will take form through your willingness to let go. There's a story often told in quiet teachings. A traveler carries a heavy bag filled with stones, each one representing a belief, a fear, a past hurt. They carry it across rivers and up mountains, wondering why the journey feels so difficult. Only when they stop and place the bag down do they realize, the path didn't need to change, they did. Scorpio, this is your moment to place the bag down. To ask yourself gently, what am I holding that no longer belongs to me? And remember, letting go doesn't always mean walking away. Sometimes it means staying, just with softer hands. It means no longer gripping the relationship, the decision, the dream, out of fear it might disappear. Instead, you hold it with care, not control. And that shift in energy alone can open doors that no amount of effort ever could. Your depth has always been your gift. But now, that depth is being called inward, not to hide, but to heal. To breathe into the parts of you that are tired of holding it all together. To offer yourself the same grace you so often extend to others. As you do, you'll notice something profound. Life begins to mirror your inner stillness. What once felt out of reach may start moving toward you, not because you chased it, but because you finally became still enough to receive it. This week is not about outcomes. It's about space. It's not about finishing the race, but learning how to pause without panic. To trust that movement is still happening beneath the surface, even when all seems still. So take a deep breath, Scorpio. You're not falling behind. You're falling inward, towards something real. There's a quiet kind of magic that happens when effort and alignment meet, when the seeds you once planted not in noise, but in quiet conviction, begin to rise from the soil. You may not have noticed it at first. These changes rarely shout. They arrive gently, like sunlight filtering through leaves after a long winter. And yet, the appearance of the Four of Wands and the Page of Wands together signals a blooming that can no longer be ignored. What you've been building, perhaps without recognition or immediate reward, is beginning to reveal its shape. This isn't about sudden success or grand breakthroughs. It's about the deeper satisfaction of seeing something meaningful begin to hold form in the physical world. You're not chasing anymore, you're arriving. That project you nurtured in silence, the relationship you approached with care, the promise you made to yourself long ago, these are no longer just ideas floating in the unseen. They are here. They are unfolding. And they are staying. It's easy to forget that most meaningful growth happens beneath the surface. Like the roots of a tree strengthening in silence, you've been laying foundations others couldn't see. The Four of Wands is not simply a celebration, it's a recognition of stability. It's the first visible sign that what you've been working toward has anchored itself deeply enough to hold. And now, it's inviting you to pause, to acknowledge how far you've come before moving forward again. The Page of Wands, on the other hand, brings a sense of renewed energy. It reminds you that what's taking root now is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a richer, more empowered chapter. You may find yourself suddenly re-inspired, filled with curiosity and courage about what's possible next. But this isn't the restless kind of ambition. It's grounded in confidence, because now you know who you are, and what you're capable of creating when you stay true to that. There's a gentle teaching here, one found in ancient wisdom, that fulfillment doesn't come from possessing something, but from fully engaging with it. Presence, not possession, brings joy. And now that what you've longed for is beginning to materialize, the invitation is not to hold it tightly, but to participate in it with openness. Let it unfold. Let it evolve. Let it deepen you. You might notice a shift in how you view success, not as something external to conquer, but as a natural reflection of your inner harmony. What you've been aligning with is beginning to mirror back to you in tangible form. And if you listen closely, this moment is whispering a very simple truth. You no longer need to prove yourself. You've done the work. Now, you simply need to trust it. The energy around you now is vibrant, grounded, and quietly powerful. The suggested colors, deep wine red and sapphire blue, are not just aesthetically pleasing, they carry symbolism, too. Red wine tones evoke grounded passion, courage, and a deep sense of embodiment. Sapphire blue connects to clarity, wisdom, and inner truth. Together, they remind you to stay rooted in your strength, but also open to receiving the beauty and abundance that's now making its way toward you. What once felt like distant hope is now tangible reality. You're not just dreaming anymore, you're living in the results of your devotion. And as you continue to walk forward, let this chapter serve as a quiet reminder that sometimes, the most powerful outcomes begin with the gentlest intentions. And now, as we arrive at this closing moment together, I want you to take a quiet breath and truly feel the energy that has been unfolding around you. Not just in this reading, but in your own life, those subtle nudges, those inner stirrings, those signs that seem too aligned to be coincidence. You see, Scorpio, you were never waiting on the universe to make a move. The universe was always waiting for you to remember that you are the move. You are not here as a passive observer in your story. You are the writer, the editor, and the voice. And every choice you make, no matter how small, becomes ink on the page of the life you're creating. This week, the signs have been aligning, not to give you permission to change, but to reflect that the change is already happening inside you. Whether it's a truth finally spoken, a door cracked open, or a seed of intention quietly growing roots, the shift has already begun. You felt it the moment you clicked on this video. You may still have doubts. You may not feel ready. But readiness doesn't come in grand declarations. It comes in the willingness to act, even when your hands tremble. So let me ask you, what if the thing you've been waiting for has also been waiting for you? What if the opportunity is already in motion, and your only task is to say, yes, I'm here. I'm open. I'm willing to receive. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to be present enough to respond when life reaches out. And trust me, it will. So take one action this week, however small, that says you're committed to your own unfolding. Write that message. Apply for that opportunity. Speak your truth. Or maybe just start by sitting with yourself in silence and asking, what part of me am I finally ready to meet? The power to transform your reality has always lived inside you. And today, it's simply been mirrored back to you through symbols, through story, through this sacred space we've shared. If something in your heart stirred while listening, If even one sentence landed like a seed, then you are already on the path. So I invite you now to anchor this energy with intention. Comment below and write, "I allow myself to fully live in my destiny." Don't just type it, feel it. Believe it. That one sentence is not just a thought, it's an activation. It's your soul stepping forward and saying, "I choose to participate." And if you found value in this message, if it resonated with you in any way, I gently ask that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need this energy too. Every gesture of support, every comment, every heart, every new connection, is what helps this sacred space grow. And it's because of you that eternal mindfulness continues to reach those who are ready to awaken, remember, and realign. Thank you, truly, for spending this time with me. Thank you for showing up for yourself. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey today. I see you. I believe in you. And I can't wait to witness the next chapter you write. So tell me, Scorpio, what part of your destiny are you ready to say yes to, right now?